Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome again to another podcast episode on Talk Architecture with your host, Naziaty Yaacob. We are continuing on the series, and this is episode number 5, the series under the umbrella topic of why are design drawings getting worse, explained by the architecture, engineering, and construction professionals. And the topic today is the subtopic of budget cuts and the push for cheaper, faster, quote unquote. Now I'm going to read out this commentary. I'm going to give a commentary after I read out the article passages. And here under this topic it says, as costs rise, several clients seek lower design fees. When budgets are cut short, quality is mostly sacrificed. Less time, fewer resources, and much pressure affect drawing quality. Many say you get what you pay for, as reduced fees result in incomplete or inconsistent drawings. Budget cuts also cut down on the time available for quality control. In order to deliver results fast and cheaply, there is pressure to override key checks that leave incomplete or error-riddled drawings. So there's a quote by a principal architect and CEO from the United Arab Emirates. The person says, when clients push for lower fees, it almost always means cutting down on quality. Rush, inconsistent drawings are the result. There is something about value, and you provide value. What is the value proposition of an architecture company? To provide good services. And what is good services? What is a good way to operate in such that you can deliver the best product, which is the drawings and the building? So if it's lack of appreciation of the value, or that the client says that, we want it to be cheaper. So inevitably, this is the bigger picture that I'm trying to pose. Inevitably, the architect who decided to accept the lower fees is also in collaboration of devaluing their work. Now, of course, it's easier said than done, and who am I to comment it like this? This is the reality out there. You need to keep the office churning. You need to keep the office and maintain the staff, and you need to get work in, and that means payment in, and regardless of what the clients, you accept the sort of clients. So we're talking about quality clients and value. Quality clients would pay for the amount of money that is acceptable. But once you accept the payment, lesser payment, which is not really that acceptable because the quality of work will be affected, then you are having this sort of client. The client and the architect relationship is a huge factor in determining the quality of work to be produced. And that includes the value that they place on what the architect bring to the table. This may affect the other consultants' team as well, but we often think about smaller projects. And you as the owner of the architecture company, you as the boss, the big boss, You've been thinking who's going to do this project and the time spent on it. So you leave it to your assistant, who's going to deal it with yourself, or your assistant going to deal it with the team. So taking in another person to help your assistant would make the cost higher, because of the time and the rate of the hour taken by that person to do the job. Clients who feel that they could get the same thing done, but feels that it's too expensive, and shop around for different architects or different companies to do the job for them and find the one that will be able to do it at a lower fee, is trying to also juggle with the finances themselves. And this whole idea of the product, what is going to be at the end of the day, apart from the construction costs, you're talking about the contractors, construction and materials, you're talking about also other fees. It's very, very complex, isn't it? From concept to build. And the architect have a lot of in their hands to coordinate, if they're the coordinator. And architects traditionally will have to go and deal with the rest of the consultants and communicate well with the others. So there's somebody who has to do the job, who has to run around and see the client and get the job done. In an office, it could be the director, it could be the associate, it could be the junior architect even. So, in a way, the director might even think that, okay, because of the low fees, would ask the junior architect to handle it and just rush it because we don't have time. We can't really spend time on this because this job doesn't have the fees to cover the associate, or doesn't have the fees to do the double checking. It's suggested by this topic here. As costs rise, several clients seek lower design fees. I mean, this is in general what happens out there. When budgets are cut short, quality is mostly sacrificed, less time, fewer resources, and so on. You get what you pay for. So do you want to be that architect who would accept lower fees? Do you want to be the client that do not place value in the architectural work? And if that happens, why does it happen? Because it's market demands, or it is to do with speculative work, or it's to do with wanting to get rich quickly. It's to do with something that is not a good thing, in a way that you look at architecture as just an industry that provides services and rubber stamping whatever design that is. It is morally, ethically a situation where you question the integrity of those involved. And this is one of the topics that is actually, it's very sensitive because it has to do with money. And somebody will be kind of, shall we say, offended when we talk about morally and ethically wrong to do this, to devalue your work. People just, say you don't know, you don't run a company. And there are processes. When you come to the third the paragraph, budget cuts also cut down the time available for quality control in order to deliver results fast and cheaply. There is pressure to override key checks that leave incomplete or error-riddled drawings. There's a perception going on, an attitude going on that the value, if it's a lower value work, I'm not going to spend my time checking so much. But then, you feel that it's unwarranted, but you need to do the work. There could be situations where you just have to do the work and you don't have any choice. So if you're to do extra work, if you're to double check the drawings and not have incomplete or error-riddled drawings, you'll be doing extra work for peanuts. So you felt like you are devalued by the client. So this is to do with professionalism as well. So that's why it's to do with moral and ethics. And where do you draw the line when it comes to this sort of projects? It's easier said than done. So it's like a catch-22, or it's between the devil and the deep blue sea sort of scenario. You can't win them all sort of scenario. And if you were to lose-lose sort of scenario, it's not a good thing at all to be doing so. And there's going to be more and more problems and headaches coming your way if you were to do incomplete or error-riddled drawings at the design stage. Because the design stages, or the design and construction stages of the project, there are a very specific amount of work that needs to be done. You need to submit enough information to the authorities. You need to have enough information for the contractor to do the work. And the information has to be done in that specific way so that everything will not, will be taken care of and not subjected to poor interpretation of the work or lack of information, in which, when it's built, there are all sorts of problems coming up later. So it's not good for everyone. You work as a team doing the different phases of the project. And often this sort of thing happens when you're a sole proprietor or self-employed and you do everything. And I've come across people who have issues on burnout and stress, working on their own, feeling so much overburdened, overwhelmed with this situation that they come up against with lower fees, that it's a catch-22, that it just doesn't feel right, but they have to do it. And is that the architectural profession? Who is going to assist them? Who is going to watch out for them? Is they themselves accepting the lower fees? So they are watching out for themselves, but they made the wrong decisions, or that they blame the profession, or they blame the situation that they're an architect, and this is the way that society works with architects. It's kind of a shame, because the profession is deemed and looked at it in a way that what we do is not as valuable as it's supposed to be. I mean, somebody gave the scale of fees from the agencies that deal with the architectural profession in a country. There is a scale of fees of certain percentage, and then you accept lower than that scale of fees. So I'm sure within the profession itself, there's arguments about why do we accept lower fees. And this means that we're not helping each other together. But there's this perception about architects that the society look at architects as not giving them much value anyway. I mean, they'll be doing the same job over and over again. It's almost like paperwork, doing paperwork, submitting to local authority. How difficult is that? So when the architect get a license from the board of architects of that country and is part of this profession, they're supposed to be protected in a way that society has to understand that that's the value of their work. I mean, if you were to see a cardiologist and he demand a certain amount of money and you just pay up because it's to do with your life. So a lot of the things in the architecture profession is to do with, it's not life and death. It's not life and death situation. You know what I mean? So when people perceive that the value of architecture work and what architects provide, the services, it's not like as brilliant or as valuable as a doctor or an engineer or an accountant. The profession itself is deemed to be eventually easily overtaken by other related professions, such as project managers, quantity surveyors, or contractors, and those who are not licensed. And there's a big debate out there with regard to those architects or those people accepting architectural jobs who are not licensed. You know, they are doing a disservice to the architecture profession. So there are some things in which those who are designers, on behalf of the client, they will be doing work which is like almost the client's brief. They come up with the design work, like the client's brief, and then it's almost as if that the designers are actually working towards assisting the licensed architect. But a licensed architect would want to go and be doing the project from day one. They wouldn't want to be just taking up any design concept or conceptual master plan, and then they would be doing the submission later on. They'd want to be doing it from the start. And that's what they were taught in schools of architecture as well. So the realities out there is that the way things work, raising funds for the project by the client needs to have a bunch of drawings, and they probably go to a designer rather than the architect. Because of the lower fees, or because those people are just as competent as the architect. But conceptually, it is fine. But in reality, ethically, it is not fine, because we were taught in a certain way when we are licensed architects that we don't do work like that. I think this is what it's all about, actually, at the end of the day, under this topic, budget cuts and the push for cheaper and faster. Your particular country, you may have some issues, but in my country, Malaysia, this debate, when they call designers or architectural designers as worms by the licensed architect, and it's like, why are we taking up this work? We are illegal. We're doing illegal things. But who is going to monitor that, and who is going to tell us, who are the architectural designers, that who's going to penalize us? Who's going to sue us? So there is a loophole here in which it's never ending. And I wish to stop there, and you could reflect on this, that it is not only the problem with in Malaysia, but all over the world. Because this article, it relates back to this article, which is the overall umbrella issue of why are design drawings getting worse. Now, when we talk about budget cuts, we're actually talking about the architectural drawings are getting worse because of the acceptance of a cheaper and faster way of working that makes the design drawings getting worse. I'm not looking at the talent. Architecture designers could very well do a good set of drawings, but it doesn't mean per se about the talent, but it may just say about the value of the architecture work, but that is perceived by the clients. The value of the work is the problem that makes this conundrum happen in the profession with regard to architects and architectural designer. The clients opt for architectural designer. And also the fact that architectural designer also can't really be architects, or the examination is too difficult, or there's no time to do the examination, or life circumstances that happen. And yeah, who says that they can't do the work for the client in terms of the interpretation of the design or the client's brief? So there you go. This may be a topic that is uncomfortable, but it's the reality of what's happening in the profession, and it's all to do with the value of the architect and the architectural services. Thank you.